Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelosi and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for Max Cookie. Today we'll work at a series of tutorials to create a cloaking effects. We'll try to make appearing this sphere in this environment. We'll use some procedural maps in the material editor, and we'll use the particle flow system to create some layers, to create some additional effects and some masks to make it appear. So let's start prepare the scene, and to know if the scene is right, let's go in customize unit setup. We work at centimeters and we'll start preparing the scene. It will be really simple. So let's create a sphere, and the sphere will be 40 centimeters. This one will be our objects with the cloaking. And to do something interesting, maybe we can create just a little bit of terrain all around. So let's move it there, and we'll try to do this one bigger. So let's say 6 meters by 6 meters. Let's remove the grid using the G key, and then let's see what we have there. Maybe we can do it bigger. So let's say 8 meters by 8 meters. And again, let's check this one. Okay. Let's add a little bit of detail. And we can use, for example, the sculpting there. So let's go for freeform, and let's open. This one can be converted to editable poly, and now we can access to the paint the form. So let's use, for example, let's move it there, and let's say maybe 60. Okay, and you see that we are able to sculpt. And again, let's go there, and let's start sculpting a little bit all around the sphere. And again, okay, and let's do it also on the other side. And again, a little bit there. Okay, so the sphere is inside this piece of rock, and then we can sculpt a little bit all the other piece there, but we use a bigger. We can use also an higher strength, let's say 150. So you see I'm just sculpting a little bit in this way, just a little bit of chaos. Let's remove, and let's go and shade it. So that's our actual terrain, and we can go there, use the turbo smooth. You see, so in this case we have more detail, and back collapse to, say yes, and then back with a free form. Convert to editable poly. You see, and just sculpting a little bit on this area. Okay, then we can close the ribbon, and and again, now we can go inside the material editor. We can create a displays map there. So let's say maybe we'll use a smoke map, and there we assign a displays, and we can use an higher level for the strength, and we copy the map there as an instance. Luminance at the center, so we can set, or we can go in this way, and you see that it's more similar to a terrain. Okay, it is not bad. Let's try to have a second map. So this one can be a composite. I'm sorry, not a combustion. Undo. Okay, I'm back there. A composite. Keep old map. And the second map can be a noise. This noise is a turbulence with a swoop. So you see that's, let's say 6, and it's bigger. Okay, and let's say that this one is a multiply over the other. Let's see this map, and we'll work to have more visibility just for some area. So you see that's how the map will look. Okay, and we can add another map. Let's say again a noise with a turbulence, and let's say that before we use a turbo smooth to have more detail, and then this one can be little, let's say 15, let's say with 7 for the levels, and this one is an average and is really low. Let's see with another iteration. Okay, and let's say that it is lower 10 with no maps. Okay, you see in this case we have more detail over the ground. So let's close, and that's our terrain. You see that it is not bad. Then we can go to save the scene, and we go in the same folder as always, and let's call it 3ds Max particles cloaking with PFlow. We can copy everything, Ctrl C, and then save. Okay, so we have the basic environment there, and this one can be called terrain, and this one is the robo sphere. So now I like to find a camera position, and we can, for example, go inside the view, let's say show safe frame, and let's set our resolution. So we can go for something like that, but obviously let's say that we can create a camera, create camera from view, and let's change a little bit the various parameters. And maybe we can do the sphere bigger so we can see in a better way the effects. Maybe, okay, something like that. So that's our environment, that's the sphere. Let's start to do a little bit of lighting. Obviously I like to have a little bit of darkness all around, so we do something using not so much lighting. So let's use, we can do it using a free spot. Let's say that this one is the light, and let's say that we have obviously the shadows, and we'll use Mental Ray for the rendering because I like to focus on the particles. So let's say that the lighting is a little bit higher, and it is sunlight coming from outside, so we can use a little bit of coloring. And we are working with an inverse square illumination, so we have to use higher level of lighting. Let's see to decay, let's say that start from there, and then we can adjust back the power. Okay, so then we have to focus on the spotlight. Let's say that the main lighting coming from there, and we have a little bit of lighting coming out until there, so we don't see anything else outside. Let's see if we have to fix something more, but I think we have everything. So let's save again, and let's set Mental Ray as rendering engine. Let's use the global illumination from Final Gather. Let's lock the resolution, and let's go at lower just to see a preview. Obviously that's the scene, and it's really simple. So let's do something else. I like to focus on the lighting, so maybe we can use the Mental Ray spot to have a more precise lighting. And this one, let's say that we use the area parameters, and we have a disk, and the disk is something like that. So we have soft shadows inside the rendering, and let's start to prepare some material. Let's say metal sphere, and the metal sphere, let's use more segments, and let's go for an arc and design. And let's start having just a metal sphere with no more stuff. Let's say that the reflection is 0.07, and it is white for the moment. We use the freshener IRR. We have the anisotropy, and the IRR is 5. Okay, and let's say that we have a little bit of glossiness. Then the terrain, let's go to have an arc design. We can have a bitmap, and maybe we can use directly a substance map. Load substance textures, and let's see the ground, maybe this one, the first one. Yes, something like that can be enough. And let's say that the map needs just an higher resolution, let's say 2 key, and we'll use more detail, let's say 0.1 for the blurring. Maybe we can go for having just a tiling of 2 and 2, and we'll have a really low reflectivity, and it is controlled by the map. In this case we'll use the specular, and it is really high glossy. Okay, then I like to use the error, and we can go for 1.6. Then I like to have the same map, so let's go there, right mouse button, and let's go to have first of all the bumping, and let's go to use the bump, but we change there the blurring to 0.5. And for the moment we put also the displacement map, but we'll see later if it is needed. And save. Let's go to shade to be faster, and we can render a preview. So that's the render. We have to tune a little bit the terrain there. So let's go in the map. I like to have something darker, so let's go in the substance. You see it is gray. We can have a little bit of playing, or maybe we can use directly the other map. Let's see if we can achieve the result I like. And let's try to have an higher bump. Let's go to 3, or maybe 1, 0. And let's see just an area. So let's say, for example, this part, and that's the result. Let's try to use a color correction to control the coloring for this map, keep all map. Let's play with a hue shifting. And again, it is too red actually, so we can remove a little bit of saturation. And play again with the shifting there, a little bit less red. Okay, let's try to have a darker map. And then let's see what happens if we have the displacement. So save and set the displace active, and let's check the parameters for the displacement. Let's say the edge length is 1 and the max subdivision is 64, or maybe let's try with 16. So you see that we start to see the displacement. Maybe we can try to have a little bit more. So again, inside the material editor, let's try to have 2, and we can render again. Okay, let's stay with this setup. Sorry, and let's try to have another light inside the scene. Let's close, and let's go for an area omni. But let's stay on the other side. Let's say there, and we'll try to have a blue color, and this one can be set to off just to play a little bit with the other lighting. And let's go there, let's set to off there the displacement, and let's render a preview. Okay, you see that's the mapping actually. Let's render this side. Okay, and let's go there, and let's say that this one is a little bit less powerful. So let's say that the intensity is lower. Let's set this one to off, and we say also that we have the inverse square, and we have also the far attenuation. And let's see again with this lighting how it looks. So you see we have less power lighting there over the ground. And if we go back to the other lights and set to on, okay, you see it seems that we have a nice lighting inside the scene. Okay, nice. Save. And I like to work a little bit over the material there for the sphere, and also to add a little bit of volume lighting maybe, but we can do it later. So first of all, let's go to work at this sphere. And we are using no maps actually there, but I like to use something. So let's start to play with some bitmap, and we can use some map coming from 3ds Max. So let's go in the metal, and let's see what we can use. We have not so much mapping there as you can see, but maybe we can use something like that. Or let's see in the arc maps. If we have something that can be used. Let's try to use this map just to see if it can work, and maybe we have to use something to create it as more complex. Let's go to the IRR and let's say that it's 3.5. So we have less reflectivity and we have more Fresnel. Let's go to have a little bit less anisotropy, and in the rendering let's set the area to the sphere and render. Okay, let's change gain a little bit, the IRR, let's go to 2.7, and we can have a little bit more glossiness, and again preview. Okay, you see that now it seems stranger than before, and maybe we can just create some different maps just to give it a strange aspect. So first of all, we can copy this map and put over the reflection. Then we can use a color correction map, discard old map. You see that it is dark, and we can make it brighter. We can remove the saturation and we can have a brighter map. And we can do the same about the glossiness. So as a copy, and we can go with this map, and then we can use the same as bump. So paste, but obviously we have to change the blurring. Let's go to 0.5, and we can have a little bit higher there, let's say maybe 1, and render. I think we can have less bumping, so let's go to 0.25, maybe still less. Let's go to 0.05, and we can have a little bit different level of detail there. So let's go to 0.5 for the reflection, and the same for the glossiness. So 0.5, and again. Okay, you see it's a strange sphere. Let's go up. Okay, and this one will be just, let's see, or maybe we can stay with this this value, and something more that can be found and done is to create maybe some structure over the sphere, but it is not important actually. I'd like to see what happens if we have a little bit more reflection. At the moment, maybe again 0.35. Okay, let's stay with this value, and let's see just what happens if we have a little bit different value for the anisotropy. Okay, let's go in the glossiness, and let's try with this value. Okay, so let's save, and we can do a preview for the entire image with the displacement and all the parameters set to the final value. So let's go there, and let's say that we work at 900, 400, and about the renderer, let's say that we work with a Mitchell, and we are using the new unified sampling mode. If you are using the old 3ds Max, we can work with a classic, so you can see the parameters, and you can go, for example, at 64 and 4, and we can render. So that's our actual setup. I like to set up the map over the sphere. So let's go there, and let's say that this one is a blend material. The second material is, for the moment, a glass physical. Let's say that it's completely visible, the second one. We remove the displacement, and in the rendering we set a really low value, so we go back to the 1, 4 and 4, and in the rendering we go just to render this part. So you see that's one step for our sphere. I like to see what happens if we have some changes there. There in the glass parameters there, and we remove this one. Obviously it will be completely transparent with the reflectivity, just the reflectivity. So that's another step we'll use for our material. And at the beginning will be like that. But we can have also no presence of the sphere. So the possibility is to have this one, then the other one, and then the passage to the metal one. So that's the various step. And to control the presence of the second material, we'll use a noise. This map will be really important because we'll use this map also for the particles. So, and this map can be, let's say, a turbulence, and let's say that it is more little. So you see that's the result. We have some glass and some metal. Let's render again. Okay, we can manipulate the map, and let's say that the map needs to have more details, and let's see with a major scale. Okay, and back to the scale we had before and render. Okay, you see that it's controlled by this map, and we'll animate this map to control it. So let's start to prepare also some basic stuff for the particle. And to do this, we'll go inside the particle system, particle flow source, particle view, and we'll start to prepare something that can be done is to prepare some particles moving over there we can remove the speed, we can remove also the rotation. So actually let's say that we have the position object, so we can use the sphere. That's the position object. Let's add the sphere. So you see we have particles all over the sphere there, and let's say that we have all the particles at the beginning, and let's say maybe 25 particles, And then we have the speed done by the surface, so we'll move the particles all around the sphere, and in this case we have to use the speed by surface. The surface will be the sphere, so you see that actually the particles are moving away, and we have to set using the control speed, so for every single frame it will control the speed, and we have to say also that we are using the parallel to surface, so you see the particles are moving all around the sphere. And something that can be done is to use a lower speed, let's say maybe 26, and we have 13 for the variation, and you see that the particles are moving over the surface. Actually, I don't like to have too fast, so let's go for 300. Okay, and let's try maybe just a little bit higher for the speed. Okay, you see that the particles are moving all around. And something more that can be done is to have a little bit less for the acceleration. Let's see if it helps. Okay, that is nice. And then now we can add something, and we can add the spawning. So with the spawning we'll create more particles. That's the one spawning, but we'll use a different setup. We'll use the by travel distance, and let's say that actually the normal is okay. Okay, let's use an higher step size to be sure that it will not slow down too much. And let's go there. Let's say that the speed is just maybe 15 with a 3% of variation, and for the moment we have no divergence. So let's see what happened in the viewport. Okay, and let's go there, and let's say that we have a display, and this one is connected to the display, and the display will use dots. Okay, and another thing we can do is to use a delete to kill the particles after a while. So let's go to pick the delete, and let's say that we delete by age, let's say 30, and maybe 5 for the variation, and that's what we have actually. Okay, back, and to create a chaotic movement we can use the random walk, and we can put it there, and we can set in this way. You see that the particles are moving with a chaotic movement over the sphere. We can scale some value, so let's say that the particle velocity is 100%, is 100 centimeters, and we'll have 35% of variation, and the noise size is more little. And if we go to see, you see that we have more chaos. Okay, nice. We can have maybe just a little bit more viscosity, let's say 125 with a 25% of variation. Okay, and maybe in this case it can be bigger the noise size. Perfect. Then we can have a random walk also for the spawned particles. And in this case, the parameters can be a little bit different, so we can have less speed, let's say maybe 10. The variation is 25%. The noise size is little, let's say 10. The viscosity is higher and more variation. Let's see. And you see that we have more chaos over the particles. So back there, and we can say to set to known the visibility of those particles, and we can go to 2 centimeters. Okay, and you see that we have more strange particles, let's say 1. Okay, so we have some kind of energy moving over the sphere during the animation. So we have a basic setup for one of the layers we'll use for the cloaking effects. We have to animate materials, we have to start rendering the various passes and then work on all the other passes effects done using the particle system. I can save, and for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye!